Hello there, welcome to Out Motorsports. My name is Jake and this is the all-new 2021 Kia Sorento Hybrid. Kia's been on a bit of a roll lately. They introduced the Telluride, which is their full-size SUV, and then they introduced the Seltos, which is a new, very interesting looking subcompact SUV. Now, the next item in their crossover lineup to be either introduced or redesigned is the 2021 Sorento. Now, the Sorento has been around as Kia's midsize crossover since 2002. It started life as a little more of an off-road focused body-on-frame SUV intended to compete with things like the Ford Explorer and the Jeep Grand Cherokee. Now, as consumer tastes have shifted, so have SUV and crossover designs, and most everyone at this point has moved to a unibody design. Kia is no exception. Most of the Sorentos in the years since 2002 have been a unibody. This is their newest version of their midsizer, and this one in particular is a hybrid. Now, Kia invited us to the unveiling online of the 2021 Sorento, and the one that got us the most excited from an enthusiast perspective, if you can really put a crossover in an enthusiast box, is the fastest model, which is not actually the hybrid. Kia does offer a 2.5-liter turbocharged gas drivetrain that has 311 pound-feet of torque, an 8-speed dual-clutch transmission, and 50/50 all-wheel drive with a center locking diff. If we can get our hands on that faster model, we sure will, but in the meantime, this is the hybrid, and it's a big deal for a different reason, because this is rated for up to 37 miles per gallon combined city and highway driving. That's a big deal for something that can seat 6 people or carry a bunch of stuff in the back. So let's talk about what the 2021 Kia Sorento is, what the hybrid model is, and then how it is to drive. All right, now like I said, the 2021 Sorento is all new for this year. They've got more interior space with about the same size exterior, new design, interior and exterior. But what we're here to talk about for the most part is the hybrid part of all this. And what's interesting, when I think of a hybrid, I tend to think of something that's frankly kind of miserable. I think of a naturally aspirated 4-cylinder paired to a continuously variable transmission with the hybrid stuff bolted on, and it's like super uninspiring to drive. And Kia has done something a little different with the Sorento Hybrid. The engine in here is actually a variant of the 1.6-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder that Tyler drove last year in the Hyundai Sonata, and I drove last year in the new Kia K5. So there's a turbocharger here to help move things along a little bit faster. And then, of course, you do have all the hybrid stuff bolted onto it. There's a 44 kilowatt electric motor that helps out with propulsion. And yes, you can drive this car only on battery power at low speeds, like in a parking lot or around your neighborhood. I mentioned a CVT. Kia has thankfully gone away from a CVT with this hybrid design, and they've actually paired all of this to a 6-speed torque converter automatic. It's still not the most exciting transmission design, but it's not that soupy, slurry, kind of really lousy CVT experience that a lot of them seem to be. So it's nice to have those somewhat quick upshifts and downshifts from a real 6-speed automatic. All of this power flows down to the ground only through the front wheels. It's important to note that while Kia offers the Sorento with all-wheel drive in the gasoline models, you cannot get the Sorento Hybrid with all-wheel drive. You can only get it with front-wheel drive. Now, Kia has confirmed that a plug-in hybrid is coming later this year, and that one will be available with all-wheel drive. But if you want the hybrid right now, it will be front-wheel drive only. Now, it's important to note, a lot of people are going to go around and say, oh my God, I can't believe that Kia only did this as a front-wheel drive car. Well, sure, I'm one of those people. However, we got some really lousy weather in the DC area yesterday before I was filming this, and I drove around in snowy, slushy, icy, lousy conditions with front-wheel drive on the factory Nexen all-season tires, and this did just fine. You've got the weight over the drive wheels, really not a lot to worry about. Obviously, if you're in a worse weather climate, somewhere that gets a lot of snow, of course you would want that all-wheel drive. So in that case, you'll want to go for the gas-powered model or wait for the plug-in hybrid, which is coming later in 2021. The 1.6 turbo is part of Kia and Hyundai's SmartStream family, and most consumers won't care at all what SmartStream is or what CVVD is, but CVVD is part of the SmartStream engine technology, and it's continuously variable valve duration. So what that is in fairly simple terms is that the engine's valves can stay open longer regardless of the valve's timing or lift. And for those who have no idea how an engine works, hi. What that basically boils down to is a little more performance, a little better fuel economy, and fewer emissions. Pretty good idea and concept from a gasoline-powered perspective, and doubly so for the sake of the hybrid drivetrain in this. I mentioned the lack of all-wheel drive on the Sorento Hybrid. It's important to note that the Sorento Hybrid is actually not made in the same location as the gas-powered Sorento. This is a somewhat common practice among many automakers where they split production across a couple different plants. Now, what that means for the sake of the Sorento is that if you get the gas-powered Sorento, you can get all these really pretty kind of jewel tone, earth tone paint colors. You can get a few more options for interior colors and textures with some, open pore wood. You can get a larger infotainment screen in the center stack. And that's because the gas-powered Sorento is produced here in the United States in Georgia. The Sorento Hybrid is actually produced in Korea. So it's not like they're made both in the United States, just in different plants. They're actually made in different parts of the world, and I suspect the reason why you've got different paint color availability, different trim availability, and different option availability is just because of the economies of scale of building one of these vehicles somewhere drastically different than the other. They can't get everything to be totally the same based on where they're being built. No word yet on where the Sorento plug-in hybrid will be made, so that will really determine all the options and colors and things like that when that time comes. But in the meantime, this runway red paint color is one of the better colors you can get on the hybrid. They do have this and a nice blue and some more neutral colors like the blacks, grays, whites, silvers that you would expect at this point. All right, now with that, let's hop behind the wheel and see how the Sorento Hybrid is to drive. All right, so driving the 2021 Kia Sorento Hybrid. Like I said, the hybrid drivetrain in here is technically very interesting. You've got the 1.6 liter SmartStream turbocharged 4-cylinder, which you can find in full gas-powered form in several other Kia and Hyundai models. But then you've also got the hybrid electronics, and they're using a 6-speed torque converter automatic instead of a CVT. So on the surface, it's just more interesting than a lot of hybrids. It's also fairly good. The reason for that is that the hybrid setup with the electric motor produces about 60 horsepower and 195 pound-feet of torque, which is more or less the same torque figure that the 1.6 gas engine produces on its own. And the best part about it is the torque crossover between the electric motor and the gas motor happens right at the torque peak for both of them. So as with every electric motor, it can make peak torque from 0 RPM, which is the whole benefit to EVs in general and hybrids. And the electric motor in this Sorento Hybrid produces its 195 pound-feet of torque starting at 0 RPM up to 1500 RPM. And then the 1.6 liter gas engine produces its same 195 pound-feet of torque from 1500 RPM up to about 4500 RPM. Now there's no tachometer in here, so you can't really tell which engine or which motor is doing what, but the benefit is that it all feels fairly seamless to you as the driver. You can just put your foot down and you've got a lot of torque from more or less 0 up to about 4500, which is all you're going to need for the most part. Now that 1.6 is fairly unobtrusive until you really start ragging on it. If you really rev it pretty high, it will take on a little bit of a gritty sound as it really winds itself out. So as far as acceleration is concerned and the noise from the 1.6, right now we're using just electric power, and if I go ahead and put my foot down, it's interesting how the power is delivered. It is certainly quick enough. It's about 227 horsepower, and combined Kia says it's 258 pound-feet of torque. That's all just fine. It doesn't really feel groundbreaking fast. It's not going to snap your neck back, but it's not the slowest thing either. Yes, it's only front-wheel drive. That can be a little entertaining if you think wheel hop is entertaining. If you're really cranked hard left or right and you put your foot down to run it really hard up an on-ramp, it'll actually wheel hop. It'll throw the traction control light on. Kind of entertaining. I don't know if I'd call it fun per se, but there's ample enough power and torque there. I do enjoy the fact that this Sorento Hybrid has a 6-speed torque converter automatic. It just feels a little more like what most people are used to with having actual gear changes. Kia did see fit to put paddle shifters on the steering wheel, and they do work. There are 6 gears to choose from, and they will let you downshift and upshift at will. But the car won't really stay in the manual shifting mode. So you can use them to pick a gear, but it's not going to hold that gear for very long. So yes, it's useful if you're going down a hill or if you're looking to start off in second gear for better snow traction or something, but it's not necessarily something where you can throw it in third gear and keep your foot to the floor and have it as like this corner carver on a mountain road. You're not going to be doing that with your Sorento Hybrid. I do wish there was some sort of an engine braking gear mode or low gear mode as part of the shift dial here. I just think it would maybe do a little bit better than the paddles that will listen to you and then after 3 or 4 seconds seem to go right back into drive. As far as braking, as with any hybrid, this has regenerative brakes. So a lot of what you're doing with the brake pedal is actually shooting energy back into the battery that can be recaptured and then used for propulsion a little bit later on. So you're not going to use the service brakes, the brake pads and rotors that are out at the corners of the wheels, to do as much stopping as you would with a regular gasoline powered car. So you'll save a little bit on consumables over the life of the car. And as far as the brake pedal feel, it just feels like brakes. They're good feel for initial bite and for harder stopping. And you can't really feel all that much when it transitions from regenerative to using the service brakes. Otherwise, with steering and suspension, I think the steering is fine. It's not too light, not too heavy. And the suspension is also fine. It's a pretty good ride. I do wish there was a little more rebound control on certain big bumps, but generally it's fairly hard to get the Sorento Hybrid too unsettled, even over bigger expansion joints and broken pavement, especially as you go through a turn. It feels pretty good in most places. And that's kind of what you're looking for out of a vehicle like this. It doesn't have to excel at any one thing. You're not looking for the ultimate off-roader, the ultimate sports car, the ultimate luxury vehicle, anything like that. You're just looking for something that's a pretty nice place to spend time, that's pretty good on fuel, that's got enough technology and everything going on that can seat 5 or 6 people. One final thing about the Sorento Hybrid that's just a fun little quirk. As with most hybrids, when you put the car in reverse, it will operate in reverse on just the battery. And because of that, Kia has added a little speaker that makes some noise to alert pedestrians that there is a vehicle moving near them. Because if you're in a parking lot or a parking garage, a lot of pedestrians may not notice that a car is sneaking up on them in some way, especially if you're backing out. So the Sorento Hybrid plays this little spaceship-y, quirky tune every time you put it in reverse, which is kind of fun. All right, and that is it for this review of the 2021 Kia Sorento Hybrid. Thank you so much for coming along today. As always, if you like what we're up to, please take a second, subscribe to the channel, like this video, and make sure to turn on that bell so you get notified when new videos are put out. We have a lot of fun cars coming, so you don't want to miss anything that's coming up next. As always, give us a follow on Facebook and Instagram. And of course, if you're looking to connect with other LGBT automotive and motorsports enthusiasts, please head over to our website, outmotorsports.com. We will link that below. We've got a full membership community with both daily text chat and monthly video chat on Zoom. We would love to have you join us. Until next time, please stay safe, be well, we'll see you again soon.